Hey again, this is Jared. Today I want to talk about building wealth with real estate. Now I have one specific method I want to talk about. There are many ways you can do this, but I will talk about the way that I've had experience. Now, let me make a little disclaimer first. Financial advice and opinions are vast and varied, and I know I'm not claiming to be an expert in anything. I'll just kind of tell you my opinions and what has worked for me, and just take that for what it's worth. I know there's lots of other strategies. I'm just talking about what I'm familiar with or what I like. So I want to talk about purchasing properties and then using them as a residence and then changing it into a rental property. Now, there's a couple assumptions. Obviously, you need to be able to qualify to get a mortgage, and you need have sufficient income and credit to do that. I'm going to talk about just the traditional mortgage, nothing with alternative lending. There are other ways to do that, but I'd like to just talk about getting a traditional mortgage because I just feel it's the lowest risk and really the easiest to do, provided you have the income and credit. So basically, it's a real simple idea. You buy a house you got to buy a house that would be a good rental property. And I mean, that could be a 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom. There's pros and cons to both. Mine happen to be 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. I only have two rentals and then my primary residence. If I could go back in time, I kind of wish I'd done this as frequently as I could have got a lender, maybe every 2 years, maybe even more. I'm at a point now, we have small children, and I don't think my wife would want to do this. We got married a little later than a lot of people. I was 34, so I did some of this before I was married. It's a lot easier to move when you don't have a wife and spouse and children, especially the children. So I don't know if we'll ever do it again. We might. Anyway, so here's the strategy. You purchase a house, you live in it for a little while, and then you get another loan to purchase another house. You move into the next one and rent out the first one, and then just keep doing that. It's easier to get a mortgage if you're going to live in the home. They don't necessarily even care if you're selling the other one. It doesn't make a lot of sense that they wouldn't just loan you money to buy another rental property and let you stay in the one. You can do that. You have to put more money down and you don't necessarily get as good of an interest rate. And I've done that as well, but it's just easier to get a loan when you're moving into a property. So that's just the strategy. It's real simple. Buy a house, live in it a little while, get another loan, buy another house, keep the first one and make it a rental. I actually use a property manager. I've been lucky enough to find a great one. I've had 2 or 3 that weren't so great, but I've had this one I've had now for several years and I'm really happy. So I use a property manager and they take care of it. Some other things to be aware of. Don't do any kind of financial advice without really making sure it makes sense. There would be a time where I would definitely not recommend this. The housing market needs to be favorable. You don't want to do it when houses are way overpriced, like let's say, 2008. But maybe do it in 2010 when houses were a great price, or I can't remember exactly, 2010. And I think housing right now, obviously it depends on the city, depends on the market. Housing right now I think has still been favorable for this for quite a while now. So obviously that has to make sense. Another thing to think about, you got to have a stomach for being a landlord. Not everybody does. In fact, I've waxed and waned about it, but I'm happy with it. We've had great experience. The big key is having a good management company, or actually, if you're doing it yourself, you've got to do a good job screening tenants and managing it. Your exit strategy is something important to think about. You will have capital gains tax to think about at some point. And then you can do 1031 exchanges, which are if you want to get out of that house and get into a different house. You can do that. I've never done that. I don't know if I ever will, because I just don't know by the time you add in the realtor fees for selling and buying, and I just don't know if it's going to be worth it. And, I know some people have done all they can do to avoid capital gains tax, and then they end up paying for it some other way anyways. So my exit strategy, again, my wife's kind of iffy on it, but hopefully I can get her to come around to it. We're talking about way in the future. and this could change if we just decide we get sick of it. But in the future, I feel like maybe when our kids are grown, they're 5 and 3 right now, almost 3. So it's going to be a while. Hopefully we can hang on to them that long. They're doing great. That we get a great source of income from them. But hopefully when the kids are moved out, we will say, okay, it's time to exit one of them or both of them. We're going to move into it. We'll move into it for a couple years. Use this house right here as a rental, or wherever we're living at the time. Maybe this one will be a rental and we'll have another one by then. But whatever house we're living in, if we want to continue living in it, I'd say, okay, let's rent it out for 2 years. Then we'll go move into one of our rentals, because if you live in it for 2 years and then sell it, you don't have to pay capital gains tax on it. And then we'll just move back into the primary residence that we like, and then repeat it with the other rental house if we want to. So that's what I'm thinking. Now, obviously laws and things can change, but I think that's a legitimate exit strategy that I'd like to go for. Okay, so that's enough about this topic. Hopefully you understand what I'm getting at. It's easier to get a mortgage when you're going to live in the house. So buy one, live in it, then get another loan to buy another one, use the first one as a rental, and just keep stacking them up. And if you have any comments, please put them down below. There's probably some thoughts that you could share that I may not have mentioned or may have neglected to think about, or some alternative strategies. I'd love to see a discussion going. Also like and subscribe and all that other YouTube stuff. Okay, thanks again for watching, and stay tuned for more